Okay, so this is going to be the last part, maybe, unless something changes, of the dream. So this is going to be part 3, and this is the ending. As y'all know, I've had this dream for 3 or 4 times a year for 5 years. This is the 5th year, and that I'm going to tell you about now. And that was about maybe 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I should have, like I said, I should have wrote all this down. I should have wrote down everything each time I had a dream, and even if it was the same thing over and over. So I had a dream, and I woke up, and I was on the corner, like always, right in front of the big white house with the pillars. And I ran around to my side, up the fire escape to my door, and I went in, and something kind of seemed off. And I know it's like 12 o'clock. And I knocked on the door. He did not answer. He didn't answer. And I walked out to the patio, and I really didn't pay much attention to what was going on. But, like there's the privacy fence here, and then the great big parking lot. And then remember I told you about the building that was, on the other side of the parking lot, great big building, pillars, lots of stairs. And there was people walking around and stuff, and I really didn't pay attention to that because I was trying to figure out where he was. And I just had this heavy heart. I just knew something was not right. Something was not right. And if I cried through this, I apologize. So I came very slowly back down that fire escape, and I went back in front of the house, and I didn't want to move. I did not want to move. I didn't even go to the next block and see, Mama, Grandma at the Hut House. I didn't even go see her. I didn't even go and see the old man that stands outside in his yard, working on the grass, the flowers, the bushes, with a white picket fence. I didn't even go see him. I just knew something was wrong. And so I started going down the sidewalk to where the apartments was. And I stopped in front of it. Nobody was laughing. Nobody was saying really anything. Everybody, it was so quiet. You knew something was wrong. You just knew something was wrong. It was such a somber over everything. And then people would look at me and they would say, "Valerie, you need to go down to the corner, turn right, and over yonder is a White House. You need to go to that White House." And I just knew something was wrong, because he's never, ever missed a dream of mine. He never, ever missed being there for me. He just never was. So, and people were coming out of the apartments, and they were upset. Some of them were crying. I remember a couple of them, when I was coming up, they yelled that she's coming, she's coming. And then I just really, and so I went to the corner, and I turned left. I walked across the street towards the little white house. The White House had a small yard. It had its mailbox in the front by the sidewalk. It had a small sidewalk that went up to the house, to the porch. And I'm sorry, there was two older ladies, probably about 60, 70. They were sitting there and they had dresses on. Their hair was kind of curly. You know how back in the day when, women had, their hair done all the time. And they looked up and one of them jumped up and said, "She's here. She's here." And so I kept walking towards the house, and the other lady jumps up and goes inside. And the other lady's still yelling, "She's here, she's here." And then this other lady come out, and all I could think of is that it was his mom. And she come out, and she pointed to the big building with the pillars and all the stairs. And she pointed over there and said, "Valerie, we've been waiting for you. He's waiting for you. You need to go over there. He's waiting on you." And everybody was walking around in dark suits. That was the longest walk of my life. And as I got closer, somebody saw me, and they yelled and went inside. They yelled, they said, "She's here." And they ran inside. Up them stairs. And it was 2 double doors. And the man grabbed one of the doors and he said, "Valerie, he's been waiting on you. Go inside." So I walked inside and there was all these chairs. There was just a bunch of chairs and they were all in a row. And then as you walk through the chairs, there was the banister with stairs that went upstairs. And in front of that banister was a casket. I just knew I didn't want to be there. And then to the left in front of that casket was a cot. So somebody came down the stairs. One of the guys, men dressed in a suit. It wasn't a black suit, but it was just a suit. He comes down and he yells up the stairs and he goes, "She's here. She's here." And he looked at me and he goes, "Valerie, he's been waiting on you. He's been waiting for you." You see my dog. I'm okay. And he came down the stairs and they were helping him down the stairs. And he looked so frail. His hair was pulled back in a ponytail. But he just looked so frail. And he looked at me and he says, "I've been waiting for you." And they help him down over to the cot. Then he lays down. And I sit in front of him and we hold hands. I never so bad didn't want to let go of somebody. And he laid his head down and we talked. I wish I could remember what we talked about, but I sure can't. But I do know he said he loved me, and I said I love him. And this wasn't my boyfriend. This was like my bestest friend, my soul bestest friend. And he was dying. He was leaving me. And he slowly passed on. And I woke up from that dream crying so hard. Because I didn't want to let him go. I didn't want him to leave. I wanted to know where the town was. And that was the last time I ever had that dream. I never had the dream again. You know, I would sit there at night, even today, 2 or 3 years later, pray to God, please, please let me have the dream, because I want to have the dream again so that I can go see the grave, so I can go see his headstone, so that I can see what his name was, you know, because we have Google now, and if I could just see the headstone, then I could Google it and then find out who died. But you guys all probably think I'm crazy, but I miss him. I miss my friend. I never, ever had the dream again. But I still have hope that I'll go back to that town. And if I do, I know exactly where I'm going, because there's a grave. I'm sure there's a grave. I didn't see it, but I'm sure there's a grave behind that funeral home. And so anyway, it's just so hard to let go. And I really miss my friend. And I just wish I knew if this was a real thing. Can I see his headstone and go visit it? Or is it just a dream that was just so vivid and that just repeated itself? Why would it repeat itself for 5 years, 3 or 4 times a year? Why? If it didn't have some kind of meaning. And you're more than welcome to share in comments if you think you know what the meaning is. That's why some people think that it's Jesus, that he showed that, I don't know. But then why would he die? I know Jesus died, but what was the meaning of it, you know? What was the meaning of the dream? Was those the only happy times of my life? And that's why I didn't want to let it go. Because everybody made me feel at home. Everybody made me feel welcome. He made me feel loved without being a boyfriend or a husband. He felt me, you know, it just, so, never had the dream again. But I still have hope that maybe one time I will get to have that dream again. So anyway, I'm done. My animals are freaking out because I'm over here crying. So please remember, love yourself, care about yourself, because you are all you got. Anyway, thank you for letting me share my dream with you. And, you know, if you have any insight to dreams or anything, you're more than welcome to leave a comment. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.